A push notification from your brokerage app while you were standing in line at a pharmacy waiting to pay $11.47 for allergy medicine. Total portfolio value, $3,411,000. You looked at it for 2 seconds. You put the phone back in your pocket. You paid for the allergy medicine, and you drove home in a 2009 Corolla with 182,000 miles on it. This is what $3.4 million actually looks like. And to understand how you got here, we have to go back 22 years to a break room and a conversation you weren't even part of. It's 2004. You're 26 years old, working a job that pays $41,000 a year. Not bad money, not good money, just money. And one Tuesday, in the break room, you overhear 2 older guys from accounting talking. One of them, a quiet man named Walter, who is 3 years from retirement, says a sentence you will never forget. He says, "I never made more than 60 grand a year in my life. The market made me the rest." That's it. That's the whole conversation. The other guy changes the subject to football. But you go home that night and you can't stop thinking about it. The market made me the rest. So you do something that takes 40 minutes, which is 39 minutes longer than most people ever spend on it. You open an investment account, and you set up an automatic transfer. $75 a month, moving from your checking account into a boring, unglamorous index fund on the 3rd of every month, whether you remember it or not. $75. That's it. That's the entire origin story. No genius stock pick, no startup, no inheritance, a sentence from a man named Walter, and $75 a month. The first year, your account grows to about $940. Your coworker Dave, remember Dave, he's going to be in this story for a long time. Dave spends more than that on rims for his truck. Nobody congratulates you. There is nothing to congratulate. You have $940 and a plan so boring it would put a room to sleep. But here's what you understood that almost nobody around you did. You weren't looking at the $940. You were looking at the machine. The transfer happens without you. The fund buys without you. The dividends reinvest without you. You built a tiny machine that runs on autopilot, and your only job, your entire job, is to never turn it off. Over the next few years, you develop rules. You never write them down. They just form. The way habits do. Rule 1, every raise gets split. Half goes to your life, half goes to the machine. When your salary goes from $41,000 to $46,000, the transfer goes from $75 to $200 a month. When you hit $55,000, it becomes $400. Your lifestyle grows. You're not a monk, but it grows slower than your income. Always slower. That gap between what you earn and what you spend, that gap is the whole game, not the stock picks. The gap. Rule 2. You drive the car until the car decides it's done. Your Corolla costs you gas, oil changes, and insurance. Dave's truck costs him $840 a month, every month, forever, because the moment one lease ends, he signs another. Over 20 years, Dave will spend more than $200,000 on trucks. He will own none of them. You did that math once on a napkin and never told him. What would be the point? Rule 3. You update one spreadsheet once a month on the first Sunday. It's called, and this is true, networth.xlsx. No app, no dashboard, no daily checking. 12 times a year you type in the numbers and you close the laptop. Because you learned early that the more you look, the more you touch, and the more you touch, the more you break. And rule 4, the hardest one. When the world panics, you do nothing. In 2008, your account loses 38% of its value in months. Dave sells everything in his 401k and swears the whole thing is rigged. You feel the same fear he does. Your stomach drops the same way. But you remember Walter. And you do the single most difficult thing in all of personal finance. Absolutely nothing. The transfer goes out on the 3rd of the month, like always. You buy the entire market on sale while everyone else is running out of the store. By 2015, the spreadsheet says $310,000. You are 37 years old. Nobody knows. By 2020, it says $680,000. The pandemic crash comes, the account drops by $140,000 in 5 weeks, and this time you don't even flinch. You've seen this movie. You know how it ends. The transfer goes out on the 3rd, and then compounding does the thing that no one truly believes until they see it in their own account. It accelerates. The first 100,000 took you 9 years. The last 100,000 took you 4 months. Your money now earns more in a good year than your salary does. The machine you built with $75 in 2004 has become something that works harder than you ever could. But there's a moment coming, because quiet wealth has a cost, and the cost is this. Sooner or later, someone you love is going to need money, and they're going to ask the version of you they can see, the guy with the old Corolla, not the version of you that actually exists. Your sister's husband, Kyle, calls you on a Thursday night. Kyle is not a bad guy. Kyle works hard, and Kyle has found a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A friend's franchise deal, guaranteed returns. He just needs $30,000, and he's asking everyone in the family. Here's what Kyle doesn't know. You could send him $30,000 before the phone call ends. It would change nothing about your life. You wouldn't even need to sell anything. It's less than your portfolio moves on a random Wednesday. And here's what you know, the deal is bad. You can hear it in the numbers he's quoting. Guaranteed returns don't exist, and anyone who promises them is either lying to Kyle or lying to themselves. So you sit there on the phone holding a secret worth $3.4 million, and you tell him the truth instead of the money. You walk him through the math. You ask him the questions nobody else asked. What happens if the revenue is 30% lower? Who's personally guaranteeing the loan? Why does a guaranteed deal need money this urgently? Kyle gets quiet. Then Kyle gets annoyed. He says, "Man, I thought you of all people would get it." You know what it's like to be careful with money. He means it as an insult, careful, small. He hangs up thinking you couldn't help. And this is the part of quiet wealth nobody warns you about. It's not the secrecy that costs you. It's the moment someone you love looks straight at you and sees less than what you are. And you let them. Because the alternative, becoming the family bank, the walking lottery ticket, the guy whose money arrives faster than his advice, that alternative quietly destroys everything it touches. You've watched it happen to others. 3 weeks later, the franchise deal collapses before it starts. The friend needed the money to plug a hole in a different business. Kyle never invested because Kyle never raised the $30,000. Your questions bought him 3 weeks of hesitation, and the hesitation saved him. He will never know that. He will never thank you. That's fine. That was never the point. And then, on an ordinary Tuesday 6 months later, standing in a pharmacy line holding allergy medicine, your phone buzzes. $3,411,000. You thought crossing a number like this would feel like fireworks. It feels like the weather. Because the truth you've learned over 22 years is that the number was never the achievement. The machine was. The $75 was. The Sunday spreadsheet was. The doing nothing in 2008 was. The number is just the machine's exhaust. You pay your $11.47. You drive home in the Corolla. Tomorrow, on the 3rd of the month, a transfer will go out like it has 264 times before. Nobody will see it. Nobody will clap. And somewhere this week, you'll watch someone spend money they don't have to look like someone they aren't for people who don't care. And you'll feel no judgment at all, just the quiet certainty of a person who chose the other path. Because the loudest thing about wealth is how silently it's actually built. If this story felt uncomfortably familiar, if you're somewhere in year 2 or year 5 wondering if the boring machine is really working, it is. Stay with it. And if you want more stories from the quiet path, you know what to do. The transfer goes out on the 3rd,